All of you are watching this video because of your concern for the safety of your animals during an emergency in your community. This presentation will give you information on how to plan for your animals if there's a need to evacuate or to shelter them in place, and how to find resources in your community to help you with your planning. As an owner, you know your animal's health and safety rely entirely on you, especially in an emergency. As you probably know, the need for this information is huge. Our animals are a very important part of our lives. For people whose animals are trained service animals, they allow their owners an independence they could not receive elsewhere. Animal ownership is extensive. It's estimated that the average American household has 1.2 pets, not including wild or exotic animals, or animals of market or food value. Because animals can influence your decision to take protective actions, it's important you understand the steps to protect your animals if you're told by emergency officials to evacuate or shelter in place. A hazardous chemical release from a train derailment or a flood can prevent you from caring for your animals for days if animals are not evacuated with you. Should a major event, such as a devastating hurricane or earthquake occur, animals may go untended for weeks if owners do not take their animals with them or shelter them in a safe environment.
For the most part, people do a good job as far as planning for themselves and preparing their homes. Again, it's just leaving the animals out of the loop and spending some time and thinking about the animal's needs in a time of crisis. A little bit of extra food, a place to space in their cars, or transportation lined up ahead of time, whether it's by relative or local transport. I think they just need to spend more time working on that aspect and treating their pets more like family.
As an owner, you hold the key to your animal's health and welfare. As you probably know, animals left behind may be found dead or never found at all. At best, they may need to be rescued, decontaminated, vaccinated, and treated for injuries before being returned to you. And this can be very traumatic for you and your animals. Highly valued animals may be stolen and sold before you can return home. And left without food and water, normally docile animals can become vicious and be killed by law enforcement or wildlife officials to protect emergency responders or returning evacuees. This video will enable you to identify hazards that could impact your animals and to develop a basic emergency supply kit for animal care. During the video, animal care experts and veterinarians will explain why having recent photos of your animals and copies of identification and vaccination records are important in emergencies, how microchips work, and how to plan to protect animals if you're away from home, why animals may have to be decontaminated after a hazardous event, and some basic precautions to take when animals return home. Evacuation planning for animals is often an overlooked item in community emergency plans, although some states are starting to develop certified disaster animal care response teams to help counties cope with animal populations in major emergencies. One recent change in preparedness occurred when the Pets Evacuation and Transportation Standards Act was signed into law in September of 2006.
Nationally, the Pets Evacuation and Transportation Standards Act, or the PETS Act, has provided a incentive for local communities to comply with the requirements of that act. And the requirements of that act are for communities to have plans to deal with household pets and service animals during evacuation, to be able to evacuate, transport, and